How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the Fourever Arsenal podcast, the first episode of the new season. It's been a couple of weeks. We've been out in LA. I say we, three of us on the panel have been out in LA and Philadelphia for the Arsenal tour. And it feels like we're welcoming back Jordan, but Jordan's in fact welcoming back us. So first and foremost, Jordan, how you been, man?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. It's good to be back. I've missed you guys, man.
You feeling fresh ahead of the new season?
I am. I've kind of deliberately detached myself from a bit of Arsenal stuff the last couple of weeks. I know some people would say there's nothing new there, but
last couple of seasons.
Yeah. But I've the season's intense, man. We talk about Arsenal a lot. I mean, you guys more than me. So just to have a couple of weeks where it's just like I keep an eye on things, but just not in it has been good. But what I will say is, I remember saying to you guys, all three of you, this time last year, the content that you guys put out on the pre-season tour last season, I thought was brilliant. I really enjoyed it. And listen, I hate giving you guys compliments, but this year it's been even better. This year, Lee, James, Turkish, and I've seen some of your stuff on your channel as well. The content was so good, man. I really enjoyed the diaries. In fact, if anything, your lot's best stuff was the stuff that didn't involve the football. All the fan cams and the football stuff was boring. All you guys, traveling around and in the pool, I thought was top tier. So big up to all of you guys, Cecil, Robbie, Julian, all of you guys, man. Behind the camera as well, the production team, big up. It was really enjoyable. I do have two. It wouldn't be new about two complaints. I do have two complaints.
We've missed you.
Well, there's got to be two. It's got to be two. The first one is, like, I love you guys, but Lee, you bottling that race with Julian up the stairs. It was Turkish is my brother. I absolutely love James, but you're my guy, Lee. You are my guy, and for you to bottle that race with Julian, I'm not gonna lie, I was upset. Lee. I expected better from you. Man. It's like, come on.
Do you know, in my defence, it's just not all about, like, you want to just do the jog. And it was so hot that day, right? Now, listen, we all done the rope test, you know what I mean, which was a lot harder, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I saw that.
There was no competitive to that. And honestly, it was like we was going out. I was going to go to the hotel afterwards, meet the players, and it would have been just sweating all day, like, you know what I mean. And to his defence, Julian, he had to go and buy. Well, he had to go and buy another shirt because his other one was dripping, like, you know what I mean. So and then decided that he had to have a shower in this bloke's house that he never even knew, you know what I mean? Like, in his hotel, he had a shower, used his deodorant, everything, like, all because we ran up a bloody set of steps. So I was glad I didn't do it. And after seeing the race, it weren't a race. And it just wasn't worth, they made that look a lot worse than what it was.
To be fair, Lee, what they didn't capture was that you actually were standing with Julian and Cecil, and they, I think, by the way, big up Ryan and Jason, because thank you for your kind words, Jordan, but they're the guys who actually make the tour content look so good.
It's brilliant.
They're amazing. But I think it was Ryan who had said go, and you'd started. So you'd already done like a quarter of the steps before they went, no, stop, we haven't started. And then I'm not doing it again. So you just strolled back to the top with Robbie. So you were going to give it a go. You got a little bit done over there. But
yeah, I did. I listen, the part of it was doing the just what it was good about. Well, not good about or bad about it. We was all just going to jog up and just do our own, like, that was it, because it was really hot. I can't, but then it is like, we've got to make it competitive, and it was no need to make it competitive because at the end of the day, it wasn't competitive. It should have just been a bit of fun. But yeah. So, but look, listen, I wasn't the only one that pulled out of that. Like, everybody did. Everybody didn't want to do it. You know what I mean? Curtis, I tried to do it, like, but he was saying the same thing, like, So,
are you saying that Ryan done you over?
Mika said, was it you, James? We done it right at the beginning. Like,
yeah, when we got there, we did a jog together up the steps. We just didn't race and capture it all on camera.
Yeah, we've all done it, like, you know. And I think that when you go there, you have to do it, don't you? Everybody does it. Everybody does it. But I'll let you into a little secret. The Arsenal lot were up there because we was up there a little bit earlier and all that. And they was only doing for content, doing it half up, but pretending to do the whole lot, you know what I mean? Because it was so hot. It was, I can't explain how muggy it was and humid that day as well, like, you know what I mean? So you were sweating just walking about, let alone running. And we had to go to St. to eat afterwards, and, like, you know, Julian weren't comfortable, all that, like, you know. For Julian to go and buy a shirt, by the way, like, you know what I mean? You can imagine how uncomfortable he was, you know what I mean? So I've got to get out of this top, like, you know. And he went and bought himself I'll tell you what, he got himself a good deal as well. So, yeah.
What's the second one, Gordon?
The second one finally was, and to be fair, Turkish is probably alleviated from this one, but you guys crying over Smith Rowe. How many shows am I watching about Smith Rowe leaving? I mean, it just got really embarrassing at one point. Like, everyone, oh, Smith Rowe, I'm really sorry. It's such a shame. It's like, look, the guy's a good player. He should have been sold 2 years ago, guys. Let's be honest. I've got nothing against Smith Rowe. I think the guy's a talent. But it was a lot. Robbie, every other show. Ooh, Smith Rowe's really sad. I'm really sad about it. Curtis, Cecil was the worst. Oh, yeah, it's one of our...
Cecil, though.
Guys, flipping out.
Jordan,
get over yourselves.
This is one of the few I agree with you on.
It's embarrassing.
I don't know if you caught the tour diaries where Curtis and Robbie were calling me heartless, because I don't want to say. Obviously, we're going to talk about Smith, aren't we? So maybe it's going to happen now. It is kind of sad that an academy product who played a big part in Arteta's turnaround isn't going to make it. But I'm also quite happy we're receiving 35 million, and I'm quite happy he's going to go off and play for
money.
And we're going to go and add another good international midfielder. Like, yeah, you know, I'm sort of sad to a point, but then I'm also I'm definitely happy about the deal.
I've only been attached, I think, to 2 academy players at Arsenal. So maybe I'm the problem here, right? The only 2 players at Arsenal who have come through Arsenal who I genuinely felt an affinity towards were Cesc Fabregas and Bukayo Saka. They're the only 2 that I've genuinely felt like. The others, I just don't get caught up in the Wilshires and the Wobies and I just don't really. It's great when your boys come through, of course, and make it to the team, of course. But bloody hell, video after video after video after video after video. It's like, bloody hell, guys. 35 mils, good money. That is good money for Smith Rowe.
It's a good deal. Eddie did well.
Otherwise, you guys smashed it. Loved it. Sorry.
You know what? Let's stick on Emile Smith Rowe, because that is one of the subjects for today, and you brought it up. And
here we go.
Circling back around. But it's a big sale, and we've talked about sales on the show in the last few episodes and how we need to ramp them up and improve on them and whatnot. But yeah, Lee, 34 mil, 27 mil up front, 7 in add-ons. Emile Smith Rowe out the door now, unveiled as a Fulham player. Any tears shed or looking forward?
It's a difficult one. I get what Jordan's saying. I also, understand what the other guys are saying, and James as well. Like, you know, I'm in the position where you have to, in football, you have to accept that things go. You know, you get on the bus, and sometimes people don't make the full journey. That is football all over. It happens. People that you really like are not part of it at the end, and unfortunately, that has come to happen to a couple of other players as well. We're probably going to talk about as well. Like, you know, for me, I'm a big fan of Smith Rowe, but unfortunately, injuries took its toll. And I felt that I said last season that Smith Rowe had to have a big pre-season, but he didn't participate in any games through pre-season because of injury. and missed out. The year before that, he needed to be fit, ready for the not the Euros, the Europa League, so that he could get games in that. Do you remember the Europa League was where they could integrate team players, and he didn't play in one of those games, weren't fit enough. So over the last 2 years, when it's really, really mattered, he's just not been fit enough. And he done well last season. But I honestly think for the talent that he is, the player that he is, the minutes that he got last season weren't enough. And if I be really honest, we can do a 1 year. He could do what he was doing with the minutes that he got last season. It was just, for business point of view, you just have to say it was the right decision. It's the right decision for him. I really, really hope that he pushes on and does really well at Fulham, and then gets a big move to another club if that's the case. I'm not in the camp of, well, hopefully he won't do well because he's left Arsenal. Certainly not in that camp. And but I think this is football. You know, you this is why sometimes you can't get too attached to players. I know what Jordan's saying there. I never got attached to Fabregas because I knew that he was going to eventually leave for Barcelona. I knew that would come that day. But I do think you do get attached to certain players that are coming through the ranks because they're brought up on Arsenal. But we've seen this week that ain't necessarily the case when money talks for a kid and he decides to go to Man United. So I get what people loved about Smith Rowe, but for me, you know, I'm in the camp of, like, you know, it happens and you have to get on with it.
I think, you know, when Curtis and Robbie were calling me heartless and we were having a bit of fun with that, I think people need to remember what era of Arsenal fan I am. And I know we kind of all, you know, we're massive Arsenal fans during this period, but I became an Arsenal fan, you know, shortly after the Champions League final. Started to pay a lot of attention. We had all these great players, and year after year, I have to deal with the big sale. It was like, I know we all went through it, but like, you know, it's like, oh, I love this team. Oh, Calafiori. Oh, Adebayor. Oh, Cesc Fabregas. Samir Nasri. There was just constant players leaving. That felt so crucial, so integral, till we were chipped away to a point where eventually we actually started spending money before we fell out the top four. But we weren't competitive for a long time before that. So a sale of a player who's barely played football in the last 2 years to retrieve a lot of money, where we're probably going to spend less than what we brought in on Smith Rowe on our next midfield, which is likely to be an upgrade and an improvement on our team, you know, in the hopes of winning a title. Like, it's just a shame it didn't work out, but I just made my peace with it a long time ago. I genuinely do wish him the best because he's an Arsenal boy who played well for us and gave us what he could, but it just didn't quite work. But I'm also, like, genuinely intrigued. I'll be keeping an eye on Fulham a lot more. I mean, if he looks brilliant, that's going to say a lot, isn't it? If he has a storming season, you know, not like Cole Palmer at Chelsea, but you know what I mean? Like, City lost a creative type player. I know they're slightly different, and they went on and smashed it at Chelsea. I know it's a slightly different situation, but if he goes on and looks, you know, formidable at Fulham, then some conversations might be had. But at the time, you know, we can only say what we feel at the time, which is this is a good deal, and we're all very happy about it. And we're all very understanding about the deal and happy with the fee. And we, you know, no one's, while people might be sad that it didn't work for Smith Rowe, no one's, as far as I can see, no one's complaining about the deal happening. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
I'll say something quickly that there will be a few people out there that, if Smith Rowe does well, will be looking to bash the Arteta drum, which I think's uncalled for again. Like, you know, they'd be looking for criticisms of Arteta. But I think that as it stands, James, you're correct. It's the right decision for the club. It's the right decision for the player. And at the end of it, people have to realise before they start bashing Arteta for it, if he does really, really well, where would he have got in last season? Even if he was playing really, really well.
For Lee, it's all about what we do. Because Cole Palmer went and killed it at Chelsea, and City fans didn't really bat an eyelid because they won the title again. You know,
exactly.
Like, I think it's kind of in our control how we kind of reflect on this. Basically, I want him to go absolutely smash it at Fulham and us not feel like we needed him ultimately. That's kind of the best scenario.
There Go on, Turkish. Sorry, you go.
I'm already looking at how to reinvest it, but on
So,
Smith Rowe, it is what it is. It's unfortunate, but 9 times out of 10, this is how it ends for academy products at the biggest clubs. You know, it's not often that you're rolling, churning out 2-3 young players every 2-3 years that make the squad. And part of me looking at you take ourselves back a few years and how I felt about that summer where, did Saka get the 7 that summer? I remember Smith Rowe and Eddie both got 10 and 14 that summer. And it was, this is the new era, the youth and whatnot. And I think we've come to a point now where we've well and truly moved on from that. We now need to, it's the final pieces of the jigsaw. And that's how I see it with Smith Rowe. If he played football over the last 2 years, I'm sure he would have found a place in this team because he's a good player. He's a good player. I don't think he's someone that's going to kick on and make us regret this sale. And if it is, it's going to be more of a problem at home than it is Smith Rowe lighting it up at Fulham. In my opinion, it's just something that had to be done. It's something that had to be done, and a great number returns for selection again. The number 10 is there. We know we need a number 8, but we've got that, with Odegaard. But that number 10 shirt is available now. The number 14 shirt should be available soon. We'll move on to that shortly. These are numbers that once upon a time meant the world to Arsenal fans, and numbers that are important. It goes to big players. So hopefully we get the right players in, and we'll not ruin an Emile Smith Rowe. Like I said, unfortunate, but it's about time. We're going to win the league now. We can't afford any passengers. We can't afford any to rely on any injury-prone players, any young players coming through the academy. Not this season. Not this season. We need to cut the gap on Man City. So I'm glad that it's done, but it needs to be followed by a few more because we've still got a few more in the tank that we need to get rid of.
Agreed.
I will say one thing on Smith Rowe, and I imagine that we were talking about this on the diaries. This is the one that I think that Arteta would have not had sleepless nights out of it, but it was a big decision for him because Smith Rowe has saved him his job on a couple of occasions. There was a time when that Chelsea game, and it just if Arsenal didn't win that game, then I would have gone into the bottom 3. And we could remember it. I think it was Boxing Day or something when he turned in an unbelievable performance for us. So listen, on the Arteta journey that's gone up, Smith Rowe has been very, very much part of that at the beginning of it, and I think it's done well for Arsenal when he was fit. And it just really comes down to injuries for him, it was just and that's it, But I think he was a good player for Arsenal, and when we look back in years to come, he was one of the players that took us. Hopefully, if we do finish the journey and we do win it, that was the start of it.
What do you guys think of these reported Nketiah rejected bids, and now Marseille apparently looking to sign?
What do you think? I think of that.
Jordan, what do you think of the rejected?
I want Eddie to stay. I want Jordan.
Listen, Eddie cost me 20 quid, mate.
27 mil. I tried to intercept the call and accept it. Fucking hell.
Leave my mate Eddie out of it, please. Leave him out of it, please.
I mean, my brief opinion on it is that I think Arsenal think they can get the 30 mil that they want for him. I don't think they would be pushing and rejecting this bid unless they were confident they could get 30 mil for Eddie Nketiah. I think they want to get him off the books. So I think that a deal will get done that will be close to the 30 mil mark. Look, if Eddie Nketiah is our 4th choice striker, then it means we've brought in someone that can elevate the striking attack. I wouldn't be mad at that. But the fact is that I don't think we're going to sign a striker. So if we could get the money for Eddie Nketiah and invest that in a wide attacker somewhere, I'm okay with that. Eddie Nketiah, a bit like Smith Rowe, I think these are good Premier League players. But this season for me is all about standards and margins. And the margins for trying to catch Manchester City, you can't be giving people like Nketiah and Smith Rowe 10, 15 games a season. The quality's got to be better. So the brutal nature is that he needs to go. I think the deal will get done. I think the club are just holding out for what I think they believe is a fee they can get. They've turned it down twice now.
I tell you what, they better get it after this.
I think they have to. If Nketiah starts the game after the window closes, then they've fumbled the bag here. They've definitely fumbled the bag. But I think they can get the 30 mil they want.
Fingers crossed.
I think with Eddie, I think he's been a good squad player. I think, you have to say what he is. He's never, ever going to be good enough to lead Arsenal's line. And I think that's where the harshness has come in about him and everything. He's been a good squad player for us. I remember when...
You're being too nice there as well.
I think...
Wiltord was a good squad player for us. No, not fucking Eddie.
Listen, I think that if you go back and look at when Jesus got injured that time, he maintained our push towards the title. That's what his job was.
Maintained our push with 4 goals in the next 9 games and being dropped for Trossard. The narrative on some of our players is mad because we've just gone on Emile Smith-Rowe on the love train about it. Fucking, we've done the same with Eddie. Let's just give it a rest.
Turkish, he was never going to be good. We know that, but at the end of the day, he come in and we continued to keep going. It wasn't until we come out of the team and when Jesus was sort of coming back. I'm not talking about this season. I'm talking the season before. When Jesus got injured, we had no one. We had no one to come in because it was like transfer window wasn't available. Trossard did come in the January, but he from that moment he done all right. I'm not saying that he was brilliant. I'm with you on that, and we know that if Arsenal are to kick on, that Eddie again is not going to be the one for it. But for me, he's always give it his best. For me, I've always said that he's not probably good enough to be in the Arsenal squad. But as a squad player, I think he done well. But now it's time to upgrade. And I think I do think when I look around, I'm going to be really honest. I look around at other players being sold for 30, 35 million pound. What's the lap going from Manchester City to Ipswich for 20 quid? Nowhere near it.
That all.
20 quid.
That's a bargain. That is a bargain.
20 million, should I say? I think with the lack, it's got nowhere near the numbers of someone like Eddie. So, but I do think that there was a possibility of West Ham. That's closed now. I don't think we can have this argument. I don't think there's that many teams that would take Eddie as their number one striker.
I disagree. Lee. I think there's probably a handful of clubs that if I'm them, I'm going for Eddie Nketiah. If I'm Crystal Palace, I'm going for Nketiah. If I'm West Ham, I'm going for Nketiah. If I'm Everton, I'm going for Nketiah. If I'm there's a whole load of clubs. I think. Sorry,
why though? Because if he's going to cost 30 million, he doesn't start over Calvert-Lewin. He doesn't start over Fulkrug, and he doesn't start over Mateta either.
I think the Calvert-Lewin one is questionable. I think the Calvert-Lewin one, is debatable. I think at least he's fit. You get a guy that's at least fit.
6 foot 4 Calvert-Lewin. I don't know.
He doesn't play.
I also think the Iwobi one will turn off Everton. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Maybe.
I'm with you. I know you're saying because listen, we was having this debate at the Liverpool game, and Julian was trying to justify that he would play in about half the Premier League clubs.
I think he would.
And then, when Robbie named them, he come down to one in the end that he might get into. It was genuine conversation, and I get that. You're going to spend £30 million. I don't think Everton can afford, in my opinion, Everton can afford to spend £30 million and then not play him, or.
But why wouldn't they play him? Is my question.
Well, because if Calvert-Lewin's fit, he plays. I think. I'm with James on that.
But on Everton, my point is it's a big if, Lee. It's a big if with Calvert-Lewin. I guess my point is I think for the right Premier League club, there's 10 to 12 goals there for Eddie Nketiah. If he plays 30-odd games in the Premier League for a club next season, there's 10 to 12 goals there for Eddie Nketiah.
And that's
not crap.
And that's shit.
No, not if you're Everton.
If you're starting 30 games for a club and you've cost 30 mil at 25, and the max you get is 10 to 12 goals, then it's not good enough.
I think that's probably about fair for a mid-table club. For a mid-table club, mid-table to maybe slightly bottom half the league club, I think if you give them 12 goals from their starting striker, they'd take that. For 30 million, I think they'd take that because that pretty much guarantees you staying in the league. Obviously, you need goals from elsewhere. I think if I can't think of any clubs in the Premier League now, but I think there's probably 6 or 7 clubs in that kind of 9th to 15th bracket. I think they'd pay 30 million for Eddie Nketiah.
You've been listening to Transfer Daily too much. Robbie, the last 3 years says a whole host of Premier League clubs wants Eddie, and it's Marseille that seems to be the one that are bidding. Like, where are these Premier League clubs that want him?
Well, I'm saying I think they should go for him.
I think this is a big one for Eddie and Arteta. I think we spoke a few weeks ago about Arsenal fans being quite patient in the market. I actually think that's weirdly remained, and the Calafiori thing picking up and obviously getting done has probably satisfied Arsenal fans just a little bit. The Merino deal seems like it's really accelerating. So I think knowing that we look like, well, Ramsdale's not going, so I don't have to worry about the backup goalkeeper. Hind did well on pre-season, and he's still around, so third choice team sorted. Calafiori's come in, looks like we're going to have Merino. So I think people feel that actually most areas of the squad we needed addressing. I'd argue 3 out of the 4 are sort of done. So it comes to the forward one, which is a big one we've talked about for a long, long time. I think Arsenal fans are remaining actually pretty patient and almost accepting this. All right, we get it. You're still working on the Smith Rowe deal just got done. You're still working on the Nelson sale, if that's going to happen. But at the moment, I'm very doubtful. Eddie Nketiah, something seems to be happening there. I think at the very end of the window, Arsenal fans will kind of really judge this window. Because I think at the moment, it's on a decent track. We're all being very patient and quite hopeful. But I kind of think if we go another window without getting a forward or seriously upgrading that forward line, whether or not you let Eddie and Nelson go, I actually think
we're at the no excuse line.
Yeah, I actually think people's opinions this window will collapse quite significantly. If you ask me right now to give it a rating, and it's silly because there's still so much to do, it's around a 6-7. I'm feeling like really happy we've got Calafiori. Looks like we'll get Merino. 34 million for Smith Rowe. Ramsdale's not going anywhere. It's looking pretty encouraging. It does look like Nelson and Eddie will probably go. But if they don't, and we don't add a Neto or a Sane or a Williams or a Gyökeres or an Osimhen or just nothing to that front line, and once again we've gone in with the same options in the area that we felt we really, it's weird because we scored our most goals ever in a Premier League season, yet it feels like it's that power in the fight in the forward line that we're lacking. And Saka's going to be expected to play the same amount of minutes. And we don't really have a like for Martinelli once again. And we don't have a proper 9. We sort of had false 9s. I think Arsenal fans will go, once again, you didn't address the biggest area of our team. I think people's opinions will swing pretty dramatically. But it's the 4th of August. We've still got a whole month. But I really think it's like in the balance there a little bit.
Can I make a point on the striker thing as well, guys? Because just on the back of James's point there, I totally agree. And I don't want to be the kind of typical fan that just thinks that there's an endless pot of money that clubs could spend and let's buy. And I also am a bit uncomfortable with the idea that just buying transfers is what wins titles. But we're here now. I actually think I've kind of changed my mind on this now. I think this won't happen, but I genuinely think Arsenal need to go out and just slap down 150 mil and go and get Isak. Now, people will say that kind of money is not in the budget. At this point in time, I'm not confident that Arsenal win the title. With the current squad that we have and City have, I don't think the dial has been moved enough for us to say, right, we're the team to beat now this season. I think at the moment we're competing. To beat City to the title, I don't think it's good enough to just keep pace. I think we've got to move the needle and do something that actually puts us in front of City. We've got to do something that actually starts the season where we are the team. At the moment, we are competing with City. Cool. Competing is not good enough now. We have to do something that actually forces the agenda. And I just can't help but feel, I think it'll take 130, 140, maybe 150 to get Isak out of Newcastle. But even if they've got to do some clever accounting, maybe they've got to write off next season's budget. And I know that Arsenal are a very frugal, well-run club. And Arteta said, I don't know who asked him in the press. One of you guys asked him about, I think it was Curtis, asked him about, is there another 100 mil player to come? And he said, no, that the Rice type signing, that's not happening this season. That slightly concerned me because I think to get the striker in that's going to move the needle, I think you've got to slap down 130 mil minimum on that guy. My big thing is about teams looking at us in the tunnel and being like, whoa, Rice, Saka, Saliba, Calafiori, Odegaard, Isak. Like, we got a problem here. I'm not quite sure whether our front line is scary at the moment. I think it's a front line that can compete with City. It's not a scary front line. And I think that we've got to go all out this in the next few weeks to just, you know what, bite the bullet, just go and get the striker that we need. Because at the moment, I'm not confident we're winning this title.
Scary is the word. James, you've heard me say that a few times, that we need a scare factor in our. In fact, the transfer show before we went out to LA, I think I said pretty much exactly what Jordan said there. So, I'm with you. I'm with you on it, if I'm honest. I mean, we need to. I think the words I used was I expected us to set pace. I think we set pace last summer's transfer window when Declan Rice, Havertz. I was against it, but we set pace. Timber, they all came in early. It was like, wow, Arsenal broke 100 mil. Rice, English, and then all of these things led to a thrust to the season from game week 1. Everyone was eager for it. Was anticipating it. The expectation was up. This one now, when James said 6 out of 10, I think that's been a bit too nice, because I feel like they haven't sold well enough yet, because it's only Smith Rowe at the door. I feel like they haven't bought well enough yet, because it's a defender in when we all didn't expect a defender in and wanted a midfielder or an attacker. And I just feel like what Jordan's saying is that City are one move away from setting pace. And we can't allow the winners of the league the last 4 times to set pace, because you look at our first 5 games of the season, James, you're right. We can't afford to drop. We know 90 points, 85 points, whatever it was the year before. We know how hard it is to win this league now. We're not just watching Liverpool, fall a few points short. So I just think in general now, Arsenal, I thought we was at a stage where we was going to build on that Declan Rice transfer last year. Now, again, people will be in the comments saying, not unlimited pot of money and all this. But you were the same people, the same mold of people that would say the same thing when I said we've got to spend 100 mil one day. You would say, we can't do that. It's not the Arsenal way. It's not. But we've done it now. You people have to understand, we were sold a dream about moving into the Emirates to compete with teams that were spending well over the odds on players 20 years ago, let alone now. So these are things that, I grew through. So people, Arsenal fans in particular, don't become the mouthpiece for these owners that are yet to deliver for us. They've yet to deliver for us. They've given us the love back, the hope back, the belief back, but they haven't delivered yet. You think 3 years makes up for 20? It doesn't. So for me to hear that question answered by Curtis and Arteta, I didn't like it. I didn't like it because I thought that was the beginning of a new era for Arsenal now. But instead, it just feels like we've done that, and now we're going to maybe apply the handbrake a little. Now, fine. James can also testify here for me with this. Whatever you do this summer, just win the league. If you thought 100 mil was best placed for a DM, a 6 or 8, whatever you call him, cool. If you thought the highest paid player should be a Kai Havertz, if you thought Calafiori, another defender this summer on top of the best defense is what we needed, win the league. Because I didn't expect us to be where we are now through his signings. So I'm not going to put down, he's going for a position that I didn't think we needed, because he's elevated us to this top table now. But just win the league now.
Do you know what?
Huh?
No, do you know what? What you're saying, I couldn't agree more. I'm going to be really honest here. Before this tour, I know we're talking pre-season, everything like that. I was in the boat that we didn't need a striker. I looked at the statistics, scored the most goals and all that. Like, what I took away from all 3 games is that Arsenal need to now. I felt that we was in total control of a lot of those games, and the chances we missed is a recurring theme over the last few years of missing good chances. Continues to happen in the league games last season, even on this tour. And I'm in the boat now of, if we're going to spend, we need a striker. We need something different to what we've got. I think Havertz is a magnificent player. I really do. I thought he was brilliant against Liverpool. What does he lack? I know he scored in that game. The one I watched him in the Euros. The one thing I thought he was brilliant in the Euros. What was the one thing he lacked? Finishing, not ruthless enough. I watched Jesus this time around. I thought he would have done some fantastic things. What was the one thing that he lacked? All that missing chances, having an extra touch, too many. And I think that the games like Liverpool were there again last season. When we had the chances to beat Villa, we didn't. I look back at Villa away. I look at Newcastle away. Tight games. That is when you need that striker that's going to come in and score your goal. And you think, well, have we won that game? Well, because we've got that striker. And as much as you go on stats, you can say, well, we scored the highest goal and all that. Sometimes the eye test is the best thing. And I'm seeing too many games when we dominate and we miss too many chances. So sometimes you get away with it. I bet that if you go back to games when we've won 6-0 and 3-0 and whatever, we've missed a couple of chances before we've actually scored, and then we've gone on and won. And that is the problem now. I'm not in the Jordan camp that it's definitely Isaacs. I don't know who he is, but I do think we need a killer. I really do think we do.
I agree, and I was going to say, Lee, that even the Isaac thing won't happen. I'm just saying that I think that that's what they should do. But can I just throw a couple of names in that I think are a bit more realistic, right? First of all, I've kind of again changed my mind on Tony a little bit, because I've realised that all the things that I didn't like about Tony and bringing him in are at the same time a lot of the things that I do like about him. I think him being a little bit of a wild card, I think, could be an issue at a club like Arsenal. But equally, that's maybe what we kind of need, a little bit of a rogue player. I think the fact that he's a bit raw still, but he is a clinical finisher, I think is a blessing and a curse. And the price seems to be dropping. And I just wonder if we should be I know Arteta's kind of said off record that he's not interested in him. And I've heard there's some personality traits that he doesn't like about him. But I just think you put Ivan Toney in that front line, it elevates our front line. But even going down, if you like, one tier below that, are we being a bit snobby by not even looking at someone like Solanke? Solanke's not a sexy world-class striker. Of course he's not. But Solanke is a finisher. And I just wonder if we're going to get to January next year. Solanke's on 11 goals in the Premier League, 12 goals in the Premier League. And we're having a conversation. Yeah, we should have looked at Solanke, Is it our snobbishness? Is it our kind of like he's not a big name that is preventing us from looking at somebody like Dominic Solanke? He'd cost you 45, 50 mil. Go on, James.
No, I think it's time to roll the dice. I think the season ended in May, so we've had all of June, July, and we're now in August. And there's no standout candidate for the forward line, whether it be a winger or a striker. Now, where I've sort of been quite flexible is I don't mind what you add to that forward line. I don't mind if it's a Leroy Sané, a Pedro Neto, or a Gyökeres. Whatever it is, I think you needed to add something. I don't mind if that extra firepower comes out wide, because I think in Trossard, Havertz, and Jesus, we can go another season and win the league with those three maybe being the solutions to the false nine, and then you've got something more out wide. But what I'm not happy to compromise on is getting no one at all and just going, well, the market isn't. And Arsenal basically got this opportunity, right? We've seen enough years of Reece Nelson, Eddie Nketiah, and the options we've got. I mentioned those two because it looks like they're going to move on. Now, Gyökeres might have only had one season in at Lisbon. And, Osimhen maybe isn't what everyone's saying he is. And last season, Napoli wasn't incredible, whatever. Pedro Neto might have injury problems. But they're all going to be available for around 60 to 80 million. Roll the dice, because if you get it right, we could go up levels, and if you don't, you got one wrong. I don't know. I think we should be giving it a go on one of these players. I know they're not perfect, and you mentioned Ivan Toney there. If it gets to deadline day, we've added no one. You bet I'm taking Ivan Toney. Look, of course I am. Even if it just means that we've got a little bit more when with 10 minutes to go, it's 1-1 at the Emirates against a side that's part of the bus for 90 minutes. We've got someone else who gives us something else. Maybe those are the extra 2 points we claim because he's added something in that dimension. I don't know. By the way, I think he's a lot more than that. It was 6 months ago. I was really hyping up the idea of signing an Ivan Toney. But I think we have to roll the dice. Trossard was a bit of a roll the dice signing. We wanted Mudryk. We didn't get him. And he ended up being our most clutch player at £27 million, 18 months on in the run-in for the title. So we have to roll the dice for me on that forward line. And like I said, the reason I said Turkish that a 6 or a 7 is where I'd have the window right now. I just mean I'm trying to reflect the patience in the Arsenal fan base. They were all pretty relaxed, all happy about the Calafiori deal. Merino, I think we're all happy to go, 25 minutes, not the super sexy midfield signing we wanted, but we can see where he's going to add value. But it's all as a caveat to But we are going to do something that forward line, right? And if we do, I'll feel very good about the window because I think we've addressed everything with experience and a little bit of a slightly different profile, in those positions. But we have to get that forward in. Like, I think it's an absolute must. And it's a failure if we don't add something there.
And I'll tell you now, and I agree with Turkish what he's saying there. And because I'm not in that camp at the moment, I'm very much supportive of what Arsenal are doing. But if Arsenal do not sign a forward and we lose the league by a few points again, it is down to this transfer window. It is down because I'm going to be on it, because at the end of it, you had an opportunity to go and buy the striker. You decided to go and spend 40 million on a defender that you didn't really need. I get that you may think that you do need it. I don't know. But if you look at it, I felt last season we spent a lot of money on a goalkeeper that we didn't need, but we went and done it. And at the end of the day, it was the right decision. You have to call it as it is. So this might be the same with Calafiori. You don't know. But when I'm looking at that forward situation now, we have not addressed it. We have not addressed it for a while now. The problem is, and I get it with the stats and everything like that, but at the end of it, if Arsenal fail this season, I think there'll be a lot more fans turning, because every Arsenal fan, if you ask them what is the problem, what is the problem that we need, it's either midfield or a forward or a wide player. And I'm with you on this, James. It doesn't have to be, for me, if they bring in a Sané, bring in a wide player. I'm not, but they've got to bring in something. And Isaacs is probably the key, what Jordan's saying, because he can play both positions. He can play down the centre, he can play down the wide. But I think that we've got to push somewhere along the line for us. I think if Arsenal finish their transfer business now, and they got rid of a couple of players, I'm not going to be happy with it. I know Turkish is not going to be happy with it. Like 6 out of 10 being very, very complimentary at this moment in time. But I get what you're saying. And James,
for where we are, where it looks like it's
100%.
moving, we're all encouraged. I'm trying to say we're all patient. But if it ends like this,
yeah. And the reason we're patient is because we believe in the. Yeah. Shall I say it? The process. We believe in Arteta. We believe in Edu. We believe in the way we're going. But there comes a time when you think, right, you've not pushed it far enough. And I agree with that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was very, very disappointed with Arteta when he turned around and says, we're not going to be spending that big money. Well, you look at it, every single person's season ticket has gone up a lot of money this season. Gone up very, very high. And you are not prepared to go over that little bit when we're having to scrimp and save and make out loans and things like that to keep.
I don't think he was ever going to tell us, Lee. I think
I agree.
He was never going to say, yeah, if we want to, we can. I don't think he was ever going to say that. That was never going to help Arsenal.
I agree.
I just look at, yeah, I mean, it just comes down to, for me, we're back to square one. I've mentioned this a lot. Credit to Arteta, credit to Edu, and I guess in turn the Kroenkes for bringing them in, because they've brought us back to square one. But we left square one in 2008, 2009. When was the realization that we're no longer that team? I think it was around 08, 09, 10 maybe. And if you look back and cast your minds back to that time, what was happening? An over-reliance on young players. Fabregas spoke about it as well. He looked around, there was no winners. And now we got Arsenal fans talking about Ranieri deserves his chance this year. Like, please think about what we're saying here. I'm not saying Ranieri doesn't deserve minutes. Of course he deserves minutes. But how are we going to close the gap on Man City without a star, without a scary signing? Let's cast our minds back and how do we get to where we got to before Arteta became manager? We got there through a lack of ambition when we was in Champions League, when we was maybe on the cusp of winning a major trophy. And now we've got Arsenal fans saying the same, saying to do the same thing, the same mistakes we made 10, 15 years ago that led to where we was. What, didn't Fabregas teach us anything? You think Saka will continue playing here for 2, 3, 4, 5 years if we don't win something? Same for Saliba. Do you think it's out of this world in 10 years Saliba says the same thing as Fabregas and says, I was looking around the dressing room and they didn't build on what we brought? I've heard these things I've heard before. This ain't the first great young team we've had. We've had great young teams, but this ownership has failed to build on those great young teams. This ownership has made these young players over the years feel like the burden's on them. And this is Arsenal Football Club. This ain't a joke football club. This is Arsenal Football Club, the third biggest club in this country, historically, trophy cabinet-wise. We cannot, for me, James, you're right. Would I rather roll the dice or pass? You roll the dice because I've seen Arsenal pass far too many times under Wenger. The right player's not there. Only a world-class addition. We go from third to fourth to fighting for fourth. All that bollocks sold to us over all those years. Yeah. If we've really turned it around, we shouldn't be rolling the dice. We've also got a manager who's, I won't say culpable, because I think Pep Guardiola's philosophy is culpable for the lack of strikers on the market and the lack of out-and-out nines. But we've also got a tutor, from Pep in Mikel Arteta. So I'm not even hearing the excuse that there's no strikers on the market, because you are, a student of that game. So work it out for me. Ownership, work it out. Manager, work it out. Because I don't care what you lot do now. The time surely is now. It surely is now. And the balance is, if we don't do what we all feel we need to do in the next 3.5 weeks leading to the end, then come the end of the season, it's going to be on the Kroenkes. But if we do what we should be doing this summer, which would be rare, it would be one of the only summers on the Kroenkes, last year probably being the only one that gave this whole fan base hope, belief. What other summer in the history of the Kroenkes, part ownership or full ownership, really gave fans belief apart from last summer? Don't come the next summer after and suck that belief out. Because as much as, okay, Arteta's not going to admit to having it, I've seen managers say, if we need to spend, we will spend. At least that gives you the gig, gives the fans, if the right player's there, we'll get him. I just feel like we cannot rest on our laurels now, because if we don't win the league, it's too much.
I think you're right. I think the kind of the good feeling of a good pre-season, and Arsenal fans, seeing what's happening out there. Lost couple. I think we lost 2-1-1 or 1-2 lost 1, whatever it was.
Draw, loss, win.
Draw, loss, win. I think that good feeling. I'm very much looking at the season, and if we lose in our first couple of games, we're not ready. The realization that a nice, cute pre-season means nothing if we don't tool up, if we don't handle our business properly and get ready for what's going to be another really difficult season. And the reason why I'm concerned is, if you have David Raya in goal and Jesus or Havertz up top, let me tell you, you don't win the league. If Havertz or Gabriel Jesus is your starting striker and David Raya is your goalkeeper, you don't win the league this year. The reason why I give David Raya a little bit of a blie, because of what's in front of him. I don't think David Raya is a top goalkeeper, but I think what's in front of him, I think I levels that out. I think up top, you can't compete with what Liverpool have got, with what City have got, with what even Villa have got. For me, yeah, go on, Turkish one.
And so you just come to mind that it's the closeout signings we need. We can make ourselves feel better by saying just roll the dice, because it would make us feel better if we do roll the dice. But this is the summer where it's the closeout sign. This is the summer where it's Van Persie wins you the league if you sign him. This is the summer that if you bring Costa and Fabregas in, you win the league. This is the summer that if you bring Van Dijk and Alisson in, you win the league. It's not about rolling dice at this key stage. It's about knowing exactly the pieces you need to finish it off.
It is though, because rolling the dice means you're taking a chance on someone who's not maybe that perfect option. I think when we were signing Declan Rice for 100 million, whether we all thought he was world class or not, I think we all thought, yeah, do the deal. Like, we all agreed. I don't think anybody didn't want that move to happen. Whereas if you throw Osimhen in front of Arsenal fans, there are going to be a lot of them who say, no, that's not the right one for us, or you're caring.
Havertz was the roll of a dice, though, James. For me, you can't keep on rolling that. Havertz was the roll of a dice, and essentially, because of the position change and the fact we still need a striker, it wasn't a great roll. He ended the season well. The numbers were up, but it wasn't a great roll. Like, he's got to know what we need now.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but I'm more making the point that we've got to take a chance on an option who maybe doesn't look perfect, but could be right. Like, we need to. Jokeres, I don't care that it's only been one season in Portugal and that the rest of his time was in Coventry. he looked brilliant. So I'd rather give him a go than do nothing. That for me would show more ambition, which is at least you tried. Pedro Neto's injury record, it is really poor. But if you go, no, we aren't going to do 60 million on him, I go, do you know what? Fair enough, you tried. Because when Pedro Neto's fit, Reece Nelson's fit, we know who the better player is. But at least you tried. And you know what? If he misses 6 months of the season, I'll be frustrated. I'll go, you know what? At least you tried to bring him in and see if he could add something. So that's what I mean by roll of the dice. It's not. I get what you're saying. We'd want to get to the summer knowing, no, this is the player we want who's going to make the difference. So go and grab him. But if that's not doable, then we don't have full control in what we want to do in our transfer window. Rumors or reports are saying that we really want Nico Williams. Like we're desperate to sign Nico Williams. But if the guy's choice is Barcelona, if not stay at Bilbao, you can only throw so much money at it. And if he says no, he says no. So, okay, are you willing to go that far for Pedro Neto? That's kind of where I am with the roll the dice thing. But I just want to add a sprinkle of like optimism because I do feel optimistic. And that comes in the form of this. On last season's Arsenal, we're adding, hopefully, a fit or fitter Gabby Jesus and a fitter Thomas Partey. A certainly fit Jurriën Timber. Calafiori as well, and 2 youngsters in Lewis Skelly and Nwaneri that I feel will play a part this season. Now, if you guys are talking to win the league, okay. But if you're talking to be competitive across the other competitions, which I also still want to win more trophies, I think our squad is already in a significantly better place from that perspective. Just from having a couple fitter players that we missed for large parts of last season. Timber and Calafiori, I think, add a lot to the back. And 2 youngsters as well. For me, adding that forward and Merino is the difference between winning the league and not maybe. So I do think the squad's in a really good place. Add those, or in a good place, add those couple extras, and I feel the most confident and most optimistic I felt about this squad in a long time from a balance of expensive, more experienced signings, youngsters coming through, then that crop that have been there a little while. I think the squad will be in a great place personally.
I have to disagree with the Partey, Jesus, Timber thing, and then the 2 youngsters, because that could easily get, that could easily just break up quick. Because for me, you're essentially saying rely on Partey, Jesus again, and we've done that so many years now that I cannot do that.
But Turkish, if those 3 players you've named are our backups, I think James is making the point that overall we're stronger. I think if those 3 are going to, if we're relying on Partey to start every week, we're in a problem. But if Partey is your backup, so if your midfield 3 is Merino, Odegaard, and Rice, and then you've got Partey to come in, Jorginho to come in, I think that's the point James is making. That's a stronger midfield set than we had last season.
But Partey is not a guy that's. His injuries have come after 3 games, after 8 games, after 20 games. It's not like his injuries just pop up. He'd be in training and then he's missing the next 2 weeks. So
but
even if he is
if he's missing, it's not going to harm us now.
It's going to harm us, Jordan. We haven't brought a midfielder in. So if Partey is injured, is one of our best 3. If Partey is injured again, then
I'm assuming my man's coming in from some Sociedad.
Merino.
I'm assuming he's coming in now. So I don't think Partey will be a mainstay of our starting 11 anymore. And even if he is, it's not going to harm us anymore, is my point. But I agree with the point that both you're making in terms of the squad. I think at this stage is better, but I think it's not title winning yet. It's not a squad that I would say, I'm confident this team overcomes City. I'm just not.
Are we all happy then that Rice now becomes a number 6? Because I'm not.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I'm happy.
What, he's better? This Marino's better than Rice at number 8.
No, I'm not saying because I just think because Rice is better as a 6.
Just let him sit, man. Just let him sit in front of the back 4. I'm happy with him just sitting.
Merino could be a very clever bit of business because he feels like a very complementary midfielder to the 3 6s we have. Alongside Rice, he maybe adds some of the distribution playmaking from the pivot that we need. Alongside Jorginho, he's got that height and presence. He's 6'2", certainly a bit of an athlete. And alongside Partey, he's a bit of everything as well. So I think Merino feels really complimentary. But if Partey hits his best form and plays like he did 2 years ago, let me say, across pre-season, he didn't quite look it, let's be honest. But if he does get to those levels, then great. Well, Rice, you move to the 8, and Merino is that £25 million squad player. Like, this is kind of what I mean. Like, the options feel a little bit more flexible and exciting going into next season, as opposed to going, Havertz, we're going to need to drop you back into midfield. I know he actually did well in the Liverpool game in midfield, but I just don't want to see that this season. And then when I talk about Nwaneri, I'm not expecting Nwaneri to play significant minutes next season, but if he needs to play some cup games, if there's an injury crisis and he has to come in alongside Rice and Ødegaard, I'm still expecting to win that game. So what I saw from Nwaneri, albeit pre-season, was really encouraging. Lewis Skelly at left back, when he came in, again, we have so many options. I don't expect Lewis Skelly to play much, but if we're playing the Carabao Cup home game and Zinchenko and Calafiori out or whatever, and he's got to start as the inverted left back, my expectations don't change. What I've seen from the youngsters is really encouraging. But there was a point where we were bringing in squad players that I thought, I don't even trust you guys to get past the 4th round of the Carabao Cup. And I don't think the squad... Now, listen, we're not worried about the Carabao Cup. I get that. But raising your floor also helps you go, throughout the season, throughout the Premier League season as well, not needing to rely on these better players to play in these other games. If in the Champions League we're in a comfortable position, we can rotate a little bit more. That's good for Arsenal too. I just think if Merino comes in and we add a forward, obviously we want some of these sales to go through. I'll be reflecting this window really, really positively. It just depends on who that forward is, but I want to see Arsenal roll the dice. I think the squad.
You're not happy, Lee?
No, I'm not happy with. I'm a little bit with Turkish on there. I think like Partey, I'm a big fan of Partey, but I'm with Turkish. You just can't rely on that. And I'm then you're saying right, our midfield's going to be Jorginho or Rice as a holding midfield player. I like Rice, but in holding midfield player, I think he just gives us so much more going forward. I really do, and I don't want to be taken away from that. I obviously we haven't seen him on the tour at this moment in time, but I think our best play come last season when he was pushing forward in the back end of last season.
Okay, but brilliantly. So we had Merino, so Rice can comfortably start as you're right. This is just kind of how you're seeing it, Ødegaard, Partey, Rice, and then Merino's the guy who comes in if Rice isn't playing there or Rice has to drop in.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I'm not against it.
Last year, albeit he played okay in that game, but it was Vieira who started the North London derby and then away at Goodison Park. Like, for me, we're not jumping levels with these signings. That's why the forward is so crucial. That's why I keep saying you don't do that. My opinion, this window collapses massively. But it sounds like and if we do, then I'll feel really good about it.
I'm with you, James. I think Nwaneri is going to be a very, very good player. I really do. Like his attitude and everything like that. He looks like he's a player, and I want to see these youngsters come in and add something to the squad. But I will be at the end of this window disappointed if either a top midfield player has not come into it or a top striker.
Both.
And I will be very much, if we don't go on and win it at the end of the season, looking at Arteta and looking at Edu. And I don't want to be. But I'm in the camp. If we go and sign a top midfield player and we go out and sign a striker and we just don't win it, I'll go, at least we've had a go. We've tried. We've given it a go. I will be. Yeah. It's one way or the other for me now, and I'm of course I'm going to support the team and all that, but I believe that Arsenal can win this title with what we've got at this moment in time. I still think we've got a good chance of winning it, but I think that we need to have the proper tools going into it, the proper tools, and that is that either midfield player or striker. Because if Partey does disappear in that, like which he done most of last season, we have got to rely on Declan Rice or Jorginho in that role. And if I'm going to be really honest, Declan Rice never missed a game last season. Can he continue to carry on doing it? I'm not so sure. And that's my worry.
Yeah. No, I get it. And listen, this is our first show back, first episode of the new season, and the transfer window, it just seemed like it's been picking up the last 7 to 10 days or so. So we're all hoping that by the time we next go live or we next do our show. And to be honest, we're due a live real soon, people. I'm sure we'll get that done before the season starts. Big up the community as always. Hit the like button. 1,000 likes needed. We've just passed the hour mark. But as I was saying, transfer window stuff's just picked up. The season's about to start, and Fourever Arsenal will start picking up pace as well. Before and after every single game of the Premier League season, Champions League season, all of that to come. When is the Champions League draw? End of August?
Carabao Cup specials.
Yeah, end of August. End of August.
End of August. James can host a Carabao Cup special. I'm on.
I want trophies, people.
I'm with you, James.
I want the quadruple.
I'm with you, James. I want it all.
Yeah. But James can host the Carabao Cup ones anyway. All right, people.
I'll join you, James. I'll join you. Don't worry. Me and you.
I will join you and all, James.
All right, it's free.
I want trophies at the end.
This is what I want. Yeah, I don't want Carabao Cup. Yeah, I want this. Yeah, please.
Why don't you show that on your set more? That's really cool.
Yeah. To be honest, I'm still sorting the set out, so soon.
That is cool, by the way.
It is cool.
Yeah, Carabao Cup's not cool, is it?
It's a good day out.
It will be in February.
It's a good day out, and I feel that when I'm watching those finals, I'm not. I walked away from West Ham. I'm thinking, I'm not that. But when you actually see the finals and all that, I think, I want a bit of that, and there's nothing wrong with that. I want us in Wembley. I want us in the cup final again. They're bloody great days out, and I don't think we should forget about it. It's not the ultimate goal, but I don't think we should be like throwing them away, Turkish. I really don't. I get what you're saying. I want that league desperately this season. I really, really do. But I don't want to be sacrificing games, and at the end of it, everybody going, it's all right, and we're still 2 or 3 points off of it. I think we've got to go for everything this season, and be in the mix for everything. Why not?
All I don't want to hear come the end of the season is this is a young side. I don't want to hear his targets was not available in the summer. I don't want to hear
no excuses.
We've won the Carabao Cup and that's a trophy and that's good enough. I don't want to hear any of these things come the end because, of course, Carabao Cup is nice. An extra sauce for your chip is always nice. But, do you need an extra sauce? Let's get the main. Let's get the steak. Before
I've seen you ordering at a restaurant, you're not happy with just starters, main course, and the dessert. I know.
No, you got to feed the community, Lee. You got to feed the community. We're gonna wrap it up here because James has got football. I think Lee might have football as well, unless jet lag still.
No. Football day. I've binned it off.
All right, James.
And by the way, can you all wish me luck? Because I went for a run yesterday. That was outrageous. I was about to tell you all about how unfit I am, how unhealthy I am. We have a bit of a laugh about it.
Savage.
You know what? I'm out.
Good luck. I'm with you, James.
Good luck, James.
I've seen what you've eaten on this tour. You need to get running. That's all I'm saying. I've never seen a man eat as much as this guy here. You know what I mean? Like Turkish is an eater. I'll give him that. But my God, he can put it away, can James? I was spellbound by some of the food that he was eating. I see him like late at night one time. It must have been 2:00 in the morning eating. I think he was eating ribs, or I can't remember what it was, chicken strips or something. I gets up in the morning, he's on cake. You know what I mean?
It's my leftover cheesecake factory order.
It was unbelievable. The last thing, and he didn't stop eating all that day. Unbelievable.
Well, it's showing. So,
back to the grind. Back to the grind.
Yeah, that run was a struggle. Anyway, I think I'm going to play in goal for this next 90 minutes. So.
Enjoy. James, love, Lee, love as always. Jordan, love as always. This is the first episode of the new season, people. So hopefully we've hit 1,000 likes. Hopefully you're subscribed.
When's you getting started?
Bell on. Soon. I haven't missed people interrupting me, that's for sure. Maybe we should go on another fucking 2-week break. Every time I do an outro.
I was good today.
It's Lee's turn. Maybe season 5 is Lee's turn to be a mug, but we'll find out. Find out in the next episode, people. Love for the love. We're out. Peace.